My name is Eric Dawson. I'm 44, a software engineer by profession, but more importantly, a man who learned that betrayal doesn't always come wearing a mask. Sometimes it has familiar eyes and sleeps in the bed beside you. 3 months ago, my life unraveled, not in an explosive cinematic way, but in a quiet, surgical dismantling that started with one sentence: "We're letting you go." It wasn't because I was bad at my job. I was good, loyal, efficient, always ahead of deadlines. But the company I'd given over a decade of my life to was bought out by a hedge fund that saw people as numbers and numbers as expenses. I was just a figure on a budget sheet they wanted to trim. I remember sitting in my car for nearly half an hour afterward, not crying, not panicking, just processing. I wasn't ruined. I had savings, investments, assets. But I knew what was coming when I told the people I called family. That night, dinner was already on the table. Clarissa, my wife of 6 years, and her 17-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, Mia, were watching some influencer dance on TikTok and laughing like nothing in the world could touch them. I waited for the room to quiet down and said plainly, "I lost my job today." Clarissa's expression didn't shift. She blinked, took a sip of her wine, and simply said, "That's unfortunate." But Mia, she leaned back in her chair, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, "I don't need a jobless man pretending to be my father." There was no hesitation in her words, no guilt, and Clarissa didn't scold her, didn't defend me. She simply got up and walked out of the room. That moment cracked something in me. I'd raised Mia like my own since she was a little girl, taught her to ride a bike, helped her with science projects, paid for school trips and birthday parties. But in one sentence, I became expendable. The next 2 weeks were unbearable. Clarissa barely came home, and when she did, her attention was glued to her phone. She'd smile to herself in ways I hadn't seen in years, giggle at texts she wouldn't show me. Her warmth vanished, and the cold that took its place was suffocating. Then came the real blow. I returned from a job interview one Thursday morning to find divorce papers sitting on the kitchen counter. No note, no conversation. Just cold, clinical words. Petition for dissolution of marriage. I confronted her that evening. She didn't even flinch. "I'm married a provider," she said, "not a liability. This is what I signed up for." She told me she'd be taking the house, the car, the savings. Then she smiled, smug and cruel. She thought she had me cornered. But Clarissa didn't know the full picture. The house? Bought 5 years ago, solely in my name. The car? Leased under my business. The savings? Locked in an irrevocable trust, protected by a prenuptial agreement she once laughed off as a formality. When her lawyer contacted mine, expecting a financial feast, they instead received a firm, polite response. She was entitled to nothing. She stormed into my office the same day, furious. "You tricked me." I looked at her and said calmly, "No, you just never asked." A week later, Mia came home to find a for sale sign in the front yard. Clarissa was already looking for a new place to stay. I later learned the man she'd been texting, the one she was so sure would replace me, vanished the moment she told him she was filing for divorce. Turns out he was married. He wasn't planning to leave his wife. Clarissa had bet everything and lost. 2 months passed. I moved into a loft downtown. Smaller, quieter, but filled with peace. No cold stares, no sarcastic jabs, no walking on eggshells. Just space to breathe. One rainy afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. Clarissa stood there, soaked, makeup running, shoulders hunched like someone half her size. She looked nothing like the woman I once knew. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "We were going through a rough patch. I let pride get in the way. I miss you." I didn't say anything at first. I stepped aside, let her see the life I'd built. The clean, minimalist apartment. The woman sitting at my dining table, Michelle. Someone I'd met at a tech seminar. Smart, kind. The kind of person who listens more than she talks and values presence over performance. Clarissa froze. "You always said I'd never find someone better than you." I told her, but I didn't need better. I just needed different. I needed honest. She left without another word. Weeks later, a letter arrived. It was from Mia, handwritten, 3 pages long. She apologized, said she now realized how cruel she'd been, how much I'd done for her. She admitted that her behavior had been a reflection of her mother's contempt. She'd started volunteering at a youth center and was beginning to understand just how rare someone like me had been in her life. She asked to meet. I didn't reply. Not then, because some bridges don't burn. They collapse. And not every one of them needs to be rebuilt. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about recognition, about how quickly love can become conditional, and how quiet resentment can wear a friendly face for years. It's about realizing that some people only value you for what you provide, until you stop providing it. And it's about walking away, not bitter, not angry, just wiser. Michelle and I traveled that year, Greece, Morocco, the Pacific Northwest. We shared books, laughed until midnight, built slow, deliberate routines. She never judged my past. She simply said once, "You don't have to apologize for how you healed." One evening, while dining out with friends, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. Clarissa stood there, gaunt, tired. She asked for a moment alone. We stepped outside. "I've been in therapy," she said, trying to understand how I let go of someone who only ever gave. She said she missed me, that she was sorry. I looked at her, and I saw not just remorse, but calculation still lingering beneath the tears. "You don't miss me," I said. "You miss what I did for you. You left when you thought I had nothing. And now that you see I rebuilt, you're back." She didn't argue. The next day, Mia emailed again. A longer apology, more honest. She told me about how she'd matured, how she'd grown ashamed of the way she treated me. This time, I responded. I told her I was proud of her growth, but I needed space, and I hoped she'd one day become the person I used to believe she already was. Michelle and I welcomed the new year on the rooftop of our building. As fireworks exploded across the skyline, my phone buzzed. A message from Clarissa. "If you're alone tonight, know that I'm thinking of you. We could have had everything." I didn't reply, because the truth was, we did have everything. She just never understood what that looked like until it was already gone.